It's very distasteful.
The site also reported that De Sousa Abreu and her husband appeared on a British TV show last year where people took part in threesomes and orgies. She was quoted as saying on the show, "Monogamy is a social construct that I think needs to be dismantled. Opening up our relationship has allowed us to form a deeper connection with each other." Now this week, De Sousa Abreu has pleaded guilty to misconduct in public office. She didn't hide her face when she appeared in court this time. She held her head high, and she was dressed for the occasion. De Sousa Abreu faces a possible life sentence when she's sentenced later this year.
A possible life sentence. What does that mean?
We needed to come on here and clarify a lot of things.
A possible sentence. In other words, you're telling me that the opportunity, the potential for this woman to go to jail for the rest of her life? Is that what you're telling me? Hold on. Let me rewind that one more time.
Abreu has pleaded guilty to misconduct in public office. She didn't hide her face when she appeared in court this time. She held her head high, and she was dressed for the occasion. De Sousa Abreu faces a possible life sentence when she's sentenced later this year. De Sousa Abreu faces a possible life sentence when she's sentenced later this year. De Sousa Abreu faces a possible life sentence when she's sentenced later this year.
Wow. What are your thoughts? This should be a warning for people that work in jail. There should be a warning. Because what is the point? What was the purpose of you getting your sexual activities in jail? Now you're facing jail forever for the rest of your life. What was the point? Was it worth it? Was it worth it? That's the question. The question is, was it worth it for you to do this in jail? So now you just pretty much threw away your life in sexual activity. Just for a sexual activity. Now you just threw your life away. Now people will know you as the woman that did these horrible things in jail. Now you won't be known for something that is not good.
Asked me to sleep with him with a big green spot in his face one day. I said, "No, I'm sorry, I'm not interested."
He asked you to do what?
He asked me to sleep with him. He said, "Would I like my curtains fixed?" And I laughed, and he said, "That's a euphemism. Do you want me to come home with you?" And I said, "I've got a boyfriend. I don't fancy little boys without jobs." That sounds awful. That sounds really, really callous, but you know, he asked me to sleep with him with a big green spot in his face one day. I said, "No, I'm sorry, I'm not interested."
He asked you to do what?
He asked me to sleep with him. He said, "Would I like my curtains fixed?" And I laughed, and he said, "That's a euphemism. Do you want me to come home with you?" And I said, "I've got a boyfriend. I don't fancy little boys without jobs." That sounds awful. That sounds really, really callous, but you know.
The BBC reported that barrister Teta Turkson of the Crown Prosecution Services said this was a shocking breach of the public's trust. De Sousa was clearly an enthusiastic participant who wrongly thought she would avoid responsibility. Turkson added that De Sousa had no option but to...
This is defined as willfully and without reasonable excuse or justification, misconducted herself in a way which amounted to an abuse of the public's trust in the office holder by engaging in a sexual act with a prisoner in a prison cell. Now, she was granted conditional bail, but here's the thing. She's a Portuguese national, and reportedly her passport was confiscated. She's forbidden from international travel. She's reportedly electronically monitored for a large portion of the day as well. And I'll give you a little bit of background on Miss Abreu. So the New York Post is reporting that she is a married swinger, has an OnlyFans account, and once appeared on UK TV discussing her passion for sex. In fact, her sister told the Daily Mail, quote, Linda gave herself to the wrong lifestyle 100%, and now she's suffering the consequences, unfortunately, which has fallen down on her husband, our parents, and myself. Ms. Abreu is scheduled to appear at Isleworth Crown Court on July 29th. Okay, I want to bring on right now a guest that we haven't had on Sidebar before, and I'm looking forward to talking to him. Prison consultant Justin Paperney. Justin, thanks so much for coming on. What a case to talk about. Now, before we even get started, my understanding is, let's talk about the prison. You are familiar with this prison, right?
We have a client who had served some time there. And I'll tell you something that when you know it's a bad prison when someone says, I would rather serve time at Metropolitan Detention Center in New York, where he was extradited to, than this prison in Europe, because it was so awful, so sickening, so filthy. And it really, the tone was set at the top with corrections and leadership. They let the prisoners run the asylum, in his own words. So when you have that sort of leadership, you could expect these sort of things to happen. And most people who go to prison are thinking, what can I do to create a record to get out as quickly as possible? In this prison, very little programming, very little correcting, and enables these people or some of these prisoners to get away with whatever they like. I will say it is surprising to so many people when they hear this story, though I will tell you, hardly a week goes by without some prison guard or correctional officer getting arrested for something. This might be at the top, a little different, having sex on camera for the world to see. But these things happen, from penitentiaries to minimum security camps where I serve time. And hopefully it brings attention to corrections in ways that we can manage these institutions a little better, with hopes that it helps people transition back to society better and to create safer communities. But people are stunned, not me.
Yeah, something.
So they are saying that this happens in a regular. This is pretty much normal to them. This happened often. So now it seems like to me that the prisoners are getting way more girls than people out here? Is that what you're telling me right now? Is that what you're telling me? How is it so? Is it so? Anyways, I am mind blown. But now we know that she might go to jail for the rest of her life. A life sentence. By the way, guys, a life sentence. Is that just? Is that just? Do you think that's just a bit kind of too much? Or is it that justice has been served for this young lady? What are your thoughts? Justice has been served, or this is unjust? This is for the rest of her life. What are your thoughts? Give me your opinion. Give me your perspective. I would like to hear from you.
Empire.
Please hit like, subscribe to my channel. Thank you very much.
Perspective.